Good morning, colleagues in communication, information. I'm delighted to welcome you this morning to this 85th anniversary celebrations media launch. And I'm delighted to have with me my panel. On my immediate right is our second Vice President, Mr. Kirk Humphrey. On his right is Senator and the first female CEO of our great party and chairman of the 85th anniversary celebrations program, Senator Pat Paris. On her right is our public relations officer, Comrade Antoine Williams. By way of format, we will have introductory remarks by members of our panel, and then we will have a question and answer session. And let me emphasize that this media conference, particularly the Q&A rather, will deal specifically with our 85th anniversary celebrations and nothing else, just our 85th anniversary celebrations. Okay? So without any further ado, I'm delighted to have addressed us on the journey, the significant milestones of the history of the Barbados Labour Party, which I believe date back to perhaps, I think it was 1937, it's subject to correction. But here to deal with the milestones, to bring us the milestones of the history of the Barbados Labour Party is Comrade Kirk Humphrey.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, members of the media. Thank you to all those who are listening, all those who are viewing. It is a pleasure to be here this morning. You know, as they say, 85 years in 85 days. And it means that this Labour Party has a very long, proud history, tradition of serving the people of this country. I want to begin, first of all, by recognizing that this party is today what it was yesterday. And the people can rest assured that we will be the same political organization tomorrow. The party has already and always been culturally rooted, concerned about the interests of the working class of this country. It has always been transformation focused. It's been relevant to the times from which we emerged, relevant to the times in which we live, and very relevant to the times that we are existing in now. I want to begin, though, I want to give you a history by looking at our covenant of hope, only to show that we are today what we were yesterday, and that this proud Barbados Labour Party is value-driven and based on principles, and the kind of leadership emanating from that kind of philosophical underpinning is why we've had a leadership of the quality of a Mia Motley, of an Owen Arthur, of a Henry Ford, and so on, of a Tom Adams, of a Bernard St. John. That is why this Labour Party has that kind of leadership and that kind of history. I was reflecting on our covenant of hope because it remains a guiding principle for us in relation to how we would want to lead if ever we were in leadership of this country. And in the post-independence period, we are now the party of choice for the people of this country. And it is because I believe of these very same principles. In our covenant of hope, we speak about strengthening our spiritual upliftment and helping the people of this country to rise up by understanding who we are as a people. We speak of good and transparent governance. We speak of improving livelihoods and universal access to enfranchisement and quality and affordable housing and education. In general, we talk about the sustainable development of the country, and of course, we remain, as we were back in the day, committed to global excellence. Now, when you think about that being our underlying principle today, and you consider the principles of the forefathers of this party, when this great Labour Party was created in March 31st, 1938, emanating from the struggles of 1937, those riots that most Barbadians are aware of, it was born in a period of extreme hardship, intense economic deprivation for many people of color, particularly. It was a very difficult time. This Barbados Labour Party was forged and formed in difficult times. And it is my view, it is because of that DNA that we have, being born how we were born at the time that we were born, it is because of that that we were able to navigate the issues pertaining to COVID, because that is who we are. That is where we came from. And it is important to understand that back then some of the objectives of the forefathers of this party were in relation to providing political expression for citizens, the same as we are today. It was about fostering goodwill between employers and employees for people who were interested in the welfare of the island. They wanted to stimulate an intelligent outlook on the social and economic and political issues of the day, very much the way that we are today, and to promote work in a way that was sustainable for Barbadians. So both versions of this Labour Party, the original version of the Labour Party from 1938 and this version of the Labour Party in a modern Barbados, all have the same underlying principles. And when I think about some of our achievements, and it would take me all day to go through all of them, and so I won't, but when I think about the history of this Labour Party and some of their achievements, before we even got into Parliament, before we even entered officially the leadership of the country, it was this party that was asking and arguing for workmen's compensation. It was this political party that was talking about a wage board, Labour Department, and universal adult suffrage. We remained committed to the working class of this country before we became the party of choice. And that this focus on transformation is not new, and that we were a transformation-oriented party. That is why the Prime Minister Motley, has the vision that she still has, which is about transformation. It is the DNA of the Barbados Labour Party, to move the country from one point to another point in a way that suggests that people should be the beneficiaries of this progress. By 1949, it was this Labour Party that was asking for penal reform and better conditions for shop assistants and a police force. So that this Labour Party has been asking and arguing for the people of this country even before we entered the Parliament. But by 1951 to 61, when we were indeed the party of choice in this country, it was this Labour Party that started talking about holiday with pay. This Labour Party that started free secondary education. And you must cast your mind to St. Leonard's, Parkinson, West St. Joseph. My mother went to Modern High School. It was this Labour Party, Princess Margaret. So let us be sure that transformation has been the order of the day for the Labour Party. That is why we continue to push as hard as we push now. That is why we continue to work as hard as we work now, to be able to ensure that in these difficult times, a party forged in difficult times continues to be the party of choice, because we are transforming the country in a way that is relevant to the times. It was this Labour Party then that taught us about health centers and technical institutes and so on. This Barbados Labour Party focused on tourism from 1951 to 61, and had we not, could you imagine the state of the country today? So I begin there because it is important to note that the Barbados Labour Party has always been transformation-oriented, it has always been people-oriented, and it has always been driven by principles. The 76 to 86 iteration of the Barbados Labour Party was a great time of transformation for this country. I think regardless of your political orientation, regardless of where you sit in terms of your political choice, there is no one that can deny that between 1976 and 86, this country saw a period of intense transformation. We saw the National Bank, the Insurance Corporation of Barbados. You saw us nationalizing public transport. There was a charter for women by this Labour Party. In fact, this Labour Party boasts, in my mind, one of the richest traditions in terms of how it has treated to women, whether in Parliament or women, whether we look at women's issues in general. It's this Labour Party. And I could go in, and I'm sure my colleagues would substantiate it, but it was this Labour Party that brought the first woman into Parliament, First Minister, and so on. So and surely the first female Prime Minister. And the women of this country should feel proud to have a Labour Party that is so supportive of women. And of course, I would be outside of myself and good behavior if I did not speak about the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act. which is the most transformative piece of legislation in the history of this country, in my estimation, because it brought the average and ordinary Barbadian into contact with land ownership. In fact, I was having a conversation recently with my mother. These things come home in a real way when you start talking to people. And she was telling us we originally came from St. John. And she was telling me of the fact that some of my aunts and grandparents and so on, my older family, were actually residing on some of these lands. And that there were times when the plantation owner would say to you, you either have to come and work on my plantation or get off my land. But it was this Labour Party that stopped all of that. So we have a very proud tradition of servicing people. I could go on and on. The 94 to 2008 edition of the Barbados Labour Party, when by that time I was now coming into my own political consciousness, recognizing that my mother as a transport board worker, like many other transport board workers, thousands of them, were laid off, and that unemployment when we came into office in 94 was about 26%. But by the end of our journey, there was a point at which this Barbados Labour Party brought unemployment down to statistically negligible numbers. When people said that it could not be done. In fact, when the then Prime Minister said job number one was jobs, it was people of this country who were saying that it was impossible, given the prevailing economic circumstances and the inability of the other side to be able to do the things that we did. It reminds me a lot of what is happening now. That when we came into office, there were many people who were saying that the things that we needed to do were impossible to do, and I will go through a few of those in a minute. But it was this Labour Party then that expanded the offshore sector. And I remember very well Prime Minister Owen Arthur saying that he came to office to stop poor people from being poor. And we brought then poverty down to insignificant numbers, but the significant work that we would have done to be able to reduce it. You may also remember EduTech and the millions of dollars that went into EduTech. And if you could consider that we had continued along those terms and those lines, where Barbados would be today, when Prime Minister Motley, then Mia Motley leadership, who was leading the Ministry of Education, saw that we had to become a much more technologically advanced country and society. It was this Labour Party again that led all of that. And this Labour Party in that period brought us Emancipation Day. Always been true to who we are, always been culturally relevant, deeply committed to the people of this country, and therefore I am not surprised that it is this now version of the Labour Party that gave us the Republic Day too. Like brought Barbados into a new republic and made sure that we completed the circle of enfranchisement. If there's one thing that I'm sure of, that when the history of this country is written and is told, it will recall that the Prime Minister of this country, the Honourable Mia Motley, completed that circle of enfranchisement that many of our forefathers started, to be able to put people, working class people, in control again of owning housing and owning land and being shareholders and having a real stake in this country. So there are many things that we could boast of, but in this iteration of the Labour Party, let me just say a few. And I really couldn't list all, but people, I again invite people to recognize that this Labour Party has not even been in office for 5 years. We have not yet been in office for 5 years. And I listed a few of the achievements of my colleagues in the various ministries, and I could not go through all because I'm sure by now you're probably saying I've talked too long anyhow. But I just feel that when we have looked at the work of this Labour Party, there is so much for us to be proud of and so much for the people of this country to be grateful for, because this Labour Party has done a lot of work on behalf of ordinary people. I recall when we came into office, these are important things, and I also feel that I should say before I speak to these things, that this Labour Party has not lost contact with the ground. We haven't lost contact with the people. And that most of us, the Prime Minister had mandated, but many of us were already on the ground. But even if that were not enough, it is this Labour Party that is doing Paris Speaks almost every month. And engaging the people of this country so that we can hear directly from the people as we bring the policies and the programs that are supposed to change lives. Because real meaningful transformation starts from the bottom up. And that is how this Labour Party has led. But you would recall that when we came into office just over 4+ years ago, it was this Labour Party, when people said that this Barbados dollar was being threatened, when there were many countries in the region that were not accepting the Barbados dollar, it was this Labour Party that saved the dollar, to make sure that Barbados could maintain the high value of our dollar and stabilize the economy. When we hardly had enough foreign reserves to be able to purchase a mint This Labour Party also has ensured that we now have the highest amount of foreign reserves ever in the history of this country, to make sure that Barbados does not have to have a conversation now about whether the dollar will be devalued or not. Many of this is due to the leadership, I believe, of our great Prime Minister as well, and the team that she leads, but also to the commitment of the people, who recognize that if there is a government in place that is doing the work on behalf of the people, they give the government their trust and they give the government their tolerance. And we want to thank the people for allowing us to make some of the hard decisions that we were forced to make over time. But it's this Labour Party also that gave the people of this country 2 pay increases in 5 years, as opposed to 1 in 10, and a much more significant increase for the people of this country. It's this Labour Party in terms of finance that gave us the reverse tax credit back and the compensatory income credit. We could go on and on. In education, you might recall that many of us, and this is one thing that had irked me, many people said that we could not return Barbadian children to the University of the West Indies for free. Because I recall, even as a student, even though it was inexpensive, like $400, for me that was a struggle. I cannot begin to imagine having to pay thousands of dollars as a Barbadian to go to university. And because of our philosophical underpinning, and because we made a commitment to the leadership, to the people of this country, the leadership of this party and the people of this country determined that Barbadians should be at the University of the West Indies for free. And again, it was this Labour Party that brought education back to the people. And if you understand what education means to Barbadian people, you would understand the betrayal by taking it away in the first place, and you would understand why it was so important for us to say we were going to do it, and then to do it. I also recall the number of schools that we renovated when we came into office and the work that we did there. And I also remember that just last year, we started a feeding program in summer for the first time in the 60-year history of the school meals program, to make sure that even during summer, that Barbadian children who may not have had access to things of nourishment during the summer were able to do so. This Labour Party, a commitment to ordinary people from the start. And I feel very proud to have associated myself with a party of this caliber. You will soon hear about our plans for educational reform, but I believe that you would appreciate that we have remained committed to people in the form of education, because we know that none of us, probably none of us, would be sitting here if it were not for education. Many of you would not be in this room if it were not for education. Many Barbadians, I read an article recently when some person, I almost said idiot, but some person on one of the international TV stations was making a joke about, you must have gotten your degree, your law degree in Barbados. And I saw the comments of ordinary Barbadians just talking about the education in this country, and that the average Barbadian can engage you in a serious conversation on local issues, regional issues, and international issues. And it was average Barbadians who was saying that. It wasn't me or the Prime Minister or the Minister of Education, Honorable Kay McConney. It was ordinary Barbadians, because we know what education means to people. And this Barbados Labour Party made sure of that. We gave the children free devices. We're now about to have a conversation with some of these companies about making sure that the internet is made available to children. In housing, our commitment to 10,000 houses, and the number of houses that have already started being built in this country. You could just look around. And you could also understand what it means, again, to complete this circle of enfranchisement in similar vein to the Tenantries Freehold Purchase Act, when we have the HOPE program, the Home Ownership Providing Energy. When we have that HOPE program that allows people to come and to own a house, but at the rate where they don't have to pay all of the value of the land, because we're using the photovoltaics to generate energy, to pay off the land fees for the person so that you can own a house at a much reduced cost, enfranchising people. I believe, my belief is that me and Motley will be remembered for that part of completing the circle of enfranchisement. I also recall that even as we continue to talk about energy, persons who don't own the land get a small little windmill to generate that energy. These are the plans that this Labour Party has for the people of this country. And the rent to own, so that if you cannot afford a mortgage, you can rent a house and then have it sold to you later on at a reduced fee because you could not afford the mortgage to begin with. Again, completing the circle of enfranchisement. On the environment, the number of things that we would have done. Barbados is as clean today as it has ever been. You walk around, you look around. That we brought on people to help us keep Barbados clean. The number of people who comment now, tourists, when they leave in Barbados in the exit studies, that Barbados is so clean, one of the cleanest places that they've been. Honorable Adrian Ford now having done over 60 clean and green programs, making ordinary communities. I'm not talking about highways and byways. I'm talking about deep inside communities that people don't see. This is not a PR exercise. It's not about putting something on the front page of the paper. It's that in the heart and the belly of communities, they are no cleaner than they have ever been. And children have places to play in a safe and orderly fashion. This Barbados Labour Party can also think about the fact that we now have more sanitation trucks, new sanitation trucks, being able to collect garbage. People forget. I think one of the things about Barbados, as much as I love Barbadians with all of my heart, sometimes we forget. Because people must have forgotten that garbage was not being collected in this country, and that we brought on about 26 new garbage trucks and a whole set of other equipment. And that Barbadians now have beautiful looking bins, every household to have one. This Labour Party, because our commitment is to making sure that the country remains clean. And one of the things that we don't talk about a lot, but one of the things I'm proud of because I care about people like all the people in this party, is that the sanitation workers have health insurance, medical insurance. And you're telling me that this Labour Party has not provided for the people of this country. And then lastly, on this particular topic, this Labour Party in the Ministry of Environment planted about 460,000 trees. And in the climate change world, you would understand how important that is. How carbon sequestration is important, but how important it is, not only for the beauty, but in a real way to keep this country safe. And I could go on about tourism. How it is that when we were going through COVID, people had thought that this country was dead, but this country had a heart. And that the cruise ships that were being denied access in every port, not only in the region, but across the world in many places, we allowed thousands of people to get home safely. And the underpinning philosophy of that is rooted in the forefathers, our commitment to people. And that we said we can't stop people from passing through our borders because we want Barbadians wherever they are, and there were many Barbadians on ships. We wanted Barbadians to be able to get home safely too. So how could you say you want your people to be safe while denying other people that same level of safety? And that despite the predictions of gloom and doom, the tourism numbers are now back to the levels they were before COVID in this country. And you tell me that this Barbados Labour Party has not been working. On the social side, you would know that we've already laid the new child protection legislation. The child justice bill is about to be laid as well. We did during COVID thousands of hampers and thousands of vouchers. We increased the welfare grant by 40%. When we first came into office, 40%, which means that persons with disabilities got more money. The elderly in this country got more money. Females who have children and were struggling to be able to provide for them were able to get these kind of resources to provide for them. And the number of vouchers that we gave during that period as well. I mean, the number of things, the legislation that is about to be unfolded in the social sector. I believe that this iteration of the Labour Party in just under 5 years has done such transformative work. We could talk about what we did in health. We built pretty much a new hospital from scratch. We extended the A&E. We made sure, people forget, when Barbadians couldn't get vaccines, when all over the world people couldn't get vaccines, don't mind the vaccine talk. When people couldn't get vaccines and were petrified for their lives, I saw a Prime Minister out negotiating morning, day, and night to be able to make sure that Barbadians were safe. You might also recall that it was this Labour Party that during the height of all this here now, people talking, but we just made sure that the nurses were able to get access to duty-free car loans. It's about caring about people. We've done well on the big things, but we've also done well on the small things. And then one of the things that I personally care a lot about is the new geriatric hospital. The geriatric hospital that I know that now resides in my constituency is over 100 years old, well over 100 years old. And that we needed to build a new one that was fit for purpose because we have an aging society. And that we've already committed $100 million to be able to start that process in the first instance. This Labour Party, our commitment is unquestionable when it comes to service of the people. We did the same thing in the markets. We did the same thing in labor. I can't go through all. Too many things. Can't go through all. I just want to say, though, that as I close, it is this Labour Party that has been committed to the people of this country. It is rooted into who we are. It is in our DNA. It is for that purpose that this Labour Party made sure that Barbadian public servants were being paid when times were most difficult. It is for that purpose that this Labour Party continues to service the people of this country. Why? Because we know very well that there was a point where stability had to be the mission. And this Labour Party, relevant to the times in the beginning, was able to do that. We also knew that at some point that we wanted to go past stability and to make sure that we could at least thrive a little. We've done that. But the mission has always been transformation. Transformation. To create a Barbados where ordinary people can live, that has made its name on the world. And don't let anybody fool you. If you damage your international reputation, you damage the capacity to be able to generate revenue. And in a real way, what that means is that the food that we eat, we cannot afford to get. It means the medicines we want, we cannot get. It means that when people hear the name of Barbados, they want to turn away. What we have been able to do through, particularly in my mind, the leadership of Prime Minister Motley, but because of all Barbadians, we've been able to restore the reputation to a country that was badly damaged. And so I'm proud to say that 85 years, yes, is not 85 days, but that we have a record of service and of leadership befitting those 85 years. And I want to thank the people of this country for having given us the opportunity to lead for some of that period. We weren't always the government of choice, but even in opposition, we conducted ourselves with probity, we conducted ourselves with dignity, and in terms of leadership, we continue to lead with a people-focused orientation. Transformation is the agenda. We continue to talk to the people of this country. We hope that we have done enough to be able to regain their trust in all the things that we do, because it is about the people. And none of this matters if it is not about the people. This government remains committed to the people of this country. I want to thank you for listening. I know that, as I said before, 85 years ain't 85 days, but any objective person, anybody here, anybody there, anybody listening, can go through the things I said. Each of them true. Everyone true. And not half of the things that we've done, not a quarter, an eighth of the things that we've done was I able to mention this morning. But that is the journey of the Labour Party. That is who we are as a people. That is who we are as a country. I want to thank the people for allowing us to be here for 85 years. I can't close without saying, I didn't think I mentioned that our relationship with the Barbados Workers Union, it was this Labour Party. But I believe that the COD party will address that. But that is this Labour Party that continues to be committed to Labour. And Minister Jordan, if he were here, would tell you all of his things. So people of Barbados, we will ask you during the course of this conversation to join us. I humbly hope that you do come out and support the many activities that we will have for the 85th as part of our 85th celebration, because we remain committed to the people. Thank you very much.
The mission has always been transformation. Thank you very much, Second Vice President Kirk, for a most comprehensive overview. We're going to move on now to our first female CEO. She's also chairman of the 85th anniversary celebrations. I speak of Senator Comrade Patricia Paris.
Thank you, Comrade Ricardo, and good morning to the members of the media. The first vice chairman indicated that we are celebrating 85 years, and this is a significant milestone. Our theme is towards a better life for our people, because he would have outlined all of the things that we have done for the people of this country. So the theme for our 85th anniversary is towards a better life for our people. Our celebrations will begin officially on Sunday, April the 16th. And they will be for 1 year of celebration. We have much to celebrate. On April 16th, we will have our Founders Day service at the St. Patrick's Roman Catholic Cathedral, Bay Street. And the band of the Barbados Police Service will be performing at this service. I know some of you will be asking why Bay Street. But on March 31st, 1938, Our founding fathers met at the home of James Martineau to form this political party. Founders at that meeting, at that time, we had Chrissy Brathwaite, James Martineau, Hugh Gordon Cummins, Dr. Philip Payne, Winter Crawford, Edwy Talma, and Hope Stevens. The Right Excellence, Sir Grantley Adams, was out on the island on a legal business. The karaoke and lime is being held on April 21st at the newly built Hillcrest Community Center in St. Joseph. And we are going to St. Joseph to celebrate in the month of April. And that is because it is the political home of the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams. As part of our anniversary celebration, we will be having a lecture series, and this series starts on April 26th at the Barbados Workers Union Auditorium, Solidarity House. The lecture will be delivered by Ambassador Chad Blackman. We will have other lectures, the Tom Adams Lecture on September 25th, and on October 17th, the inaugural Owen Arthur Lecture. On April 28th, that is a special day for us in the Barbados Labour Party because it is the birth date of the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams. And that is the date of our annual picnic. We were not able, our last picnic was held in 2019, and that is, as you know, COVID stepped in. So we did not have a picnic for the from 2019, and we are having a picnic this year. Unfortunately, we are not able to have the picnic at the East Coast Road because of the road repairs that are being done there. This year will be 15 years for this annual picnic. However, as I said earlier, it will not be at the East Coast Road. So we will be celebrating as a party the birthday of the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Adams at Silver Sands Park on Friday, April 28th, Heroes Day. I know that some persons are saying, Silver Sands, can the Barbados Labour Party be accommodated in Silver Sands? Yes, we can, have no fear. We have made arrangements for adequate parking and would be working with the Barbados Police Service to ensure smooth flow of traffic. If you are interested in joining us for this picnic but you do not have any transportation, please contact one of the 30 constituency branches and they will ensure that you are at Silver Sands celebrating the birthday of the Right Excellent. Emerging from the Barbados Labour Party is the Barbados Workers Union. So on May 1st, 2023, we will be joining with the Barbados Workers Union at their May Day celebration. It is nothing new. It is something that we did on May 1st, 2018, so we will be doing it again this year. The theme for the celebration will be, when we join the Barbados Workers Union, the theme will be, it started with us. So that is, in a nutshell, some of the celebrations that are being done and why they are going to, like for instance, St. Joseph, and why we're having the church service at the Roman Catholic Cathedral in Bay Street. And my comrade Antone Williams will give you more detailed information on the calendar of events. I also want, at this time, on behalf of the political leader, the General Secretary, and executive and members of the Barbados Labour Party, to thank all those MPs, past and present, for the work they have done in ensuring that this party have survived for the past 85 years. It was not at times an easy going for us, but we stood together, we stood firm, and that is how we were able to reach 85 years as a political organization who is looking out and will continue to look out for the people of this country. I want to say, and I hope that as you drove in this morning into our party's headquarters, that you would have seen our 85th anniversary logo and banner with the theme, celebrating 85 years of service to our people is indeed a significant milestone. And I thank all of the people who have made this possible for us to be here today as a political organization to start our 85th anniversary celebration. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam CEO Patricia. We will now hear from our dynamic public relations officer, Comrade Antoine Williams, who will give us some additional details on the 85th anniversary celebration. Comrade.
Thank you very much. When we were planning the calendar, we thought it was necessary to have a mixture of education, enlightenment, and entertainment, of course, for our members or supporters, and to have it, as was mentioned by Comrade Pat, at places where the history of the party is rich. So in addition to our church service, in addition to our picnic presence, in addition to the involvement in the Barbados Workers Union's May Day activities, there are a number of activities that will also be planned. We have always enjoyed karaoke lines, so that will be one of the attractions for sure. The first one, of course, being at Hillcrest St. Joseph, Friday the 21st of April. And then we'll have another set of karaoke lines and competitions across our 30 constituencies, with the intention of the finals being held on the Saturday night at our annual conference. Our cricket match, we had an exciting cricket match in the early part of this year, in October last year. And when I say exciting, I mean it was really exciting. So we will have another cricket match. Perhaps it will be what can be deemed as, what's the word I want to use? A
rematch.
A rematch, yes. And at that time, the two teams were led by Comrade Dwight Sutherland and Comrade Corey Lane. I'm sure that they would want to be up front again and have that rematch just as exciting. So the cricket match will be held. We will, of course, inform our individual constituencies and supporters and members where that match will be staged. I would also want to bring your attention to the participation in National Arbor Day tree planting across all 30 constituencies. Comrade Kirk spoke about the Ministry of Environment Clean and Green program, the cleanup activities and the thrusts throughout our communities. And so we felt it was necessary to have a presence and some form of engagement and activity on the National Arbor Day, which is on the 30th of September. So across all 30 constituencies, there will be tree planting exercises. The lectures are equally important because not only do they speak of the history, not only do they give reference to the individuals in whose name the lectures are being held, for example, Grantley Adams, Tom Adams, and Owen Arthur, but the lectures are also designed to highlight, especially for students of history, students of political science, why the Barbados Labour Party for 85 years, why we are proud of our stellar service to Barbados and the need for us to look to the future, as it were. I will also mention that we will be staging an exhibition, and that exhibition will be held in June, the month of June, and it principally looks at the work of the Barbados Labour Party. So imagine what was said by Comrade Kirk will be chronicled in that regard, and highlights of the work of the party will be referenced within the stages of the exhibition. And we've also looked at the possibility of hearing from those who were instrumental in the passing of legislation, which obviously would have affected this beautiful country. So there's a lot to be done that we would want to certainly salute and celebrate. Of course, when we're looking at a celebration of this kind, promotional items are important. So we will be ensuring that we have our promotional items that highlight the 85th anniversary, and of course, the theme being celebrating 85 years of service to our people. I would also want to make mention of the salute to fathers. We felt it was necessary to highlight such. In our party, we have a number of fathers, number of men, some who are fathers, some who are not. And so here at headquarters, we will have a Father's Day luncheon, and that will be on the 18th of June. Crop Over is a national festival. The Barbados Labour Party has, over the years, been contributing to the development of Crop Over, development of culture. And we will obviously have a number of activities that will connect within our Crop Over season. But I will tell you that here at headquarters, throughout the month of July, we will also have a number of Crop Over limes. We're encouraging the constituencies all across the Barbadian landscape to also be a part of this exercise. Our representatives, the branches, and all connected, we are encouraging you to also play your part, to form your own type of activity, all in celebration of the 85th anniversary. We have started a number of legacy tours, and while the legacy tours are not, pinned within this calendar, the legacy tours will also be seen as a complementary activity as far as the calendar is concerned and our anniversary. And what exactly are the legacy tours? It looks at pivotal points of interest within Barbados across the constituencies that obviously carry a BLP mark. Development, for example. And this is where, again, the constituencies and parliamentary representatives will have an opportunity to highlight what are those individual landmarks within their respective constituencies. So there's quite a lot to celebrate. And that is why we felt it was necessary to treat this as a year-long celebration. We want that when Barbadians pass this Barbados Labour Party headquarters, that you see the vibrancy. And the vibrancy is, of course, recognized in our party colors, in our building that has a particular trademark and signature. And we also want that our members will also feel such. So when you enter here, you can see that there's vibrancy, there is full life, and it really is a testimony of our celebration of our service to Barbados. And I think it would be also, as we go to 1938, and we know today, March 31st, so it is ideal that we obviously wish one beautiful day, happy birthday to the members of the Barbados Labour Party, political leader, General Secretary, the National Executive Council, all parliamentarians and their support, because this is our day, and we will continue to celebrate well as we prepare for a year-long celebration that will highlight education, enlightenment, entertainment, and of course, commitment to our people. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Antoine, for elaborating on the significance of the unique features of our 85th anniversary celebrations. It's now time for question and answer, and we will invite the panel to accommodate any questions that members of the panel of journalists may have for us. Remembering that we're keeping it within the confines of the celebrations. Any questions for the panel? No questions for the panel?
Do you have a special logo or anything? Can we see it?
The logo was designed and it is embracing people. It is towards a better life for our people. And the 85th, you can see it on social media. It's up, so it is on our social media platforms. So that is our logo. Also, if you're driving past Barbados Labour Party's headquarters, don't take your eyes off the traffic off the road, but you will see our banner, and it is included in this banner is our logo. So our logo is out there.
There was one activity which I neglected to make mention of because we want to involve our young people. The League of Young Socialists is a vibrant entity and vibrant arm of the party, and they have started a number of activities where they go into various constituencies. They do walkthroughs with the respective MPs, and that will continue as part of our anniversary. But in terms of the involvement of our young people, or school children or young people, we are at the stage of creating an essay competition and reading sessions. As I said, that will be done within the schools and of course within the communities, because we can't, as a party celebrating 85 years, and not have any particular reference to the young people of this country.
Jenny Belgrave, Barbados Today. I know you said on May 1st there is supposed to be joining with the BLP and the BWU in Labor Day celebration. But there seems to be a level of some sort of uncomfortableness in the society when you put government with labor in a partnership. What is the response to that? How are you trying to get Bajans to be more comfortable with this partnership because they see that they should be separated?
You know, I find that a most interesting question, and one of which I hope that we can reflect on today and maybe other places. The Barbados Workers' Union came from the Barbados Labour Party. Its birth was from a political context, you know. When the Workers' Union was formed in 1941, it was from the Barbados Labour Party. I recall a speech that Owen Arthur gave when we returned to Solidarity, not Solidarity House, in the country. The Workers' Union complex in, what's it called properly? Mangrove. Mangrove. And he started his speech in a way to suggest we were coming home, that the Labour Party was returning home. The Barbados Labour Party has always had a good relationship with the Workers' Union. The question of the day is, why is it in my mind that it has become such an issue that in this Labour Party we have a female who heads a Labour Union and is working with the Barbados Labour Party, but it is not new. It is almost the historical reality of Barbados that people who head unions find themselves in Parliament. They find themselves as a member of a political party and in Parliament. I mean, I could call a few names, but I don't wish to. But I don't have to go too far back, and we could say I could think of at least 2 or 3 quite easily. I don't want to call any names. But politics and labor has always gone hand in hand. I think people are uncomfortable, I feel, because of a number of things that have nothing to do with the relationship between a union and a political party. I would also go further and say that I feel that a country that is serious about progress, a country that is serious about developing people, needs to have a political organization in government, needs to have a relationship with labor. When I was minister responsible for the port, I remember a conversation I had with Prime Minister Motley, because at that time, there was no member from the union sitting on the board of the port. And we felt it was so important to be able to resolve these issues before they became issues, to have somebody represent the workers at the level of the board, and that you are able to resolve conflicts before they become conflicts. It is the history, it is the essence of our social partnership. Our social partnership that brings together the government, it brings together the business class, and it brings together the labor movement, and then we've now included it to also involve persons from the NGO community. That is good governance. That is good governance. So if persons are uncomfortable with a political party having a relationship with a union, then it is because, in my mind, they probably don't understand the history. It's also, in my mind, because there are some challenges, I think, and I mean, I am the minister responsible for gender, too. You know, in my ministry, I'm responsible for gender. And I also know that women also have it oftentimes a little bit harder than men when it comes to a lot of these things. But that the leadership of the workers' union is outstanding. The leadership of all of our labor unions are outstanding, but the leadership of the workers' union is outstanding. And that we are privileged, I think, to be able to have a quality person in the form of the leader of the workers' union to be in Parliament. And I must also tell you that I have never heard once, never once, the leadership of this country asked the workers' union to do anything that would compromise the people and the people that they represent and the labor that they came to serve. But equally, perhaps even stronger, I have never once heard the leader of that labor union come to a political meeting or come to a meeting of the parliamentary group and act in any way other than first and foremost being a leader of a union. And many times, you shouldn't say scroll up in these things, but many times I watch people get scroll up when they try to say anything other than something that would progress the interests of the people of this country, the labor of this country, the workers of this country. So I think, in a way, what we've done is to go back to who we've always been, that there is an understanding that the union at the table gives us the opportunity to have the conscience of the nation and the conscience of the people before us. And so that before we act, we have to hear that conscience. And before we act, we have to hear her voice saying, I will not stand for anything that compromises the workers of this country. So I think the people of this country are in good hands. I think labor remains in good hands. And I think people should just continue to watch and to observe. And that if in their watching and in their observation they think that we have stepped on the crease, we've crossed the line, then say so. But that so far, all that people would have to say is that the relationship is one that is strong, it has kept the country safe, it has benefited the people, it is the one that has made sure that they got 2 pay raises for public servants, it is the one that made sure that we were able to appoint public servants who were in the public service for 3 years. It is the one that brought a minimum wage to the people. It is the one to ensure that nurses are now getting a better deal. The relationship has actually been to the benefit of the people, and I hope that people appreciate it in that context.
Okay, I know we're pushing towards another regathering. Is there any activity specifically pushed towards the diaspora?
Regathering?
Okay, members of the diaspora will be doing having their own celebrations, because as you know, we have an arm in the New York, A Better Life for Our People. So they will be doing their own celebrations for their people, and you will be hearing about those.
Okay.
So where there's an arm of the Barbados Labour Party overseas, there will be celebrations.
Okay. I didn't see a date for the AGM. Y'all don't have one.
conference?
The conference,
Yeah.
we're finalizing the date for the conference, but it will be in October.
Okay.
Other than the Lurie and Carter Startup, other than the list of activities, are there any major changes that the party is taking or making during your 85th anniversary?
Major changes in...
Major changes in
At the
what
national
areas?
level or
No, I do.
within the party?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Within the party?
Yes.
No, this is a calendar of events, so that's why we have highlighted all of the activities to you, but there won't be any major changes. This is something new. This is 85 years.
Yes.
So you have some events that we outline.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, that's it now? Media?
Yeah.
Okay, that on behalf of our panel, I want to take this opportunity to thank you most sincerely for joining us in what really has been a milestone event. Today's event, in fact, signals the commencement of the celebrations. This is event number 1, our launch, media launch. So we want to thank you, and we look forward to your continued support and cooperation with your follow-up coverage, of course, of the events when they take place. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ricky and team, thank you very much.
Thank you.